Good afternoon to everyone, and good afternoon to respected today's eminent speaker, Professor Manish Kumar sir, and Professor N. Surjitkumar sir. Uh, uh, Today we are going to discussion on the how to write a successful research proposal, because we all know that research proposal has a vital role in the research. As a research scholar and as the assistant professor and professor, when we applied for the research grant and for the research project, so that time we have we have a very broad problem how we can select the topic and how we can precise our project according to that agencies, because many agencies have given already their parameters, but some parameters are equal. So, in this discussion, today we have with us a very eminent speaker, Professor Manish Kumar sir, Manish sir, and we are know the academic. We all are know better about the academic exposure of our respected Professor Manish Kumar sir. Sir, you're most welcome in the Indian Research Scholars Association platform, and we are very lucky that, and it's also a great opportunity to the all research scholar and also for the association, professor research expert like the Professor Manish Kumar sir has accepted our invitation, and sir will be doing his lecture in this platform, because it is a very little platform, and sir has a very good academic exposure. So I will not take the much and more time. I want to invite to Professor N. Surjit Kumar sir for the welcome speech and a brief introduction of the about the Indian Research Scholars Association. So over to you, Surjit sir.
Thank you, Vikash. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Anyway, first of all, I would like to congratulate Indian Research Scholars Association, who has been organizing various research seminars and workshops through online mode. And I first of all would like to welcome Professor Manish Kumar, who is the chairperson and dean of Center for International Politics, School of International Studies, Central University of Gujarat. I welcome you, sir. Yeah, since Vikas has already mentioned about today's topic, that is on research proposal and research writing, which is very much important for all research scholar. Uh, it is okay for all the participants here to speak in English.
Yes, sir. No problem, sir.
Okay, because last time UGC team has visited our university campus. Now they are saying that it should not be only in English; it should be also in Hindi. Also, now UGC has started a drive to start research and other activities in Hindi also. So in that case, we need to, discuss about that also in the coming days. And yes, another organizing team, Vikas, then Ashwini Kumar, Zaya Pandey, R.T. Devi, Ganesh Lal, all the organizing team. I once again congratulate for organizing a series of lectures in different platforms, different areas. And about the Indian Research Scholar Association, which was established in January 2021, it has been organizing various seminars and workshops through online modes. And I have suggested that it should not only be online mode. Sometimes we can organize some offline programs like seminars and workshops with a sponsorship from Indian Council of Social Science Research, that is ICSSR, ICWA in New Delhi, so that physically contact and physically discuss more than the
So I think some network issue. Join later.
No, no,
So
it's okay. There's some network problem anyway. So next time, even we will invite some research scholar from the different parts of India, not only from the central part, from western part, then south part. So even some scholars from northeastern states also we can invite in the next uh, forthcoming programs. And also we will try to get some sponsors so that we can organize some offline programs in the coming days. So I will not take much of time, and I now request Professor Manish Kumar just to go ahead with the proposal, I mean topic of today's program.
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Sir, actually, I request to Manish sir before the deliver of the lecture. I want to actually हम लोग सभी सर के बारे में जानते हैं बट एक छोटे से परिचय जया पांडे जी ने तैयार किया है सर का तो मैं जया पांडे जी को इनवाइट करूंगा कि वो सर के बारे में ब्रीफ में बताएं एक्चुअली सर का तो बहुत काम है लेकिन ब्रीफ में सर के बारे में हम सबके समक्ष रखें और सर इसमें सम स्कॉलर है ज्वाइन फ्रॉम द अफगानिस्तान एंड वन स्कॉलर पापी हल्दर है ज्वाइन फ्रॉम द बांग्लादेश एंड मुजाहिदा है ज्वाइन आल्सो फ्रॉम द तजाकिस्तान सो दे आर द सम स्कॉलर है ज्वाइन फ्रॉम द आउट ऑफ द इंडिया यस ओवर टू यू जया पांडे जी
Thank you, sir. Good afternoon, everyone who has joined this workshop. I am Jaya Pandey, research scholar from Dr. Hari Singh Gaur Vishwavidyalaya, Sagar. On the behalf of Indian Research Scholar Association, I am thrilled to welcome you all in today's workshop on research proposal and research writing. But I especially want to extend my warm welcome to our esteemed guest speaker, Professor Manish, sir. Sir is a professor and dean in the School of International Studies from Central University of Gujarat. Sir is Sir is highly respected professor in the field of international relations. His knowledge and expertise to the relevant workshop will be proved as groundbreaking and will significantly impact our understanding in writing a research proposal. Sir has more than 60 national and international publications, which consist of journal articles, books, chapter and books, editorials, reviews, and others. We are incredibly fortunate to have you, sir. Sir, your insight and expertise are surely be invaluable as we delve deeper into research field. Welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaya ji, and let me also thank Vikash ji and Professor Surjit Kumar ji. First, a few corrections. I'm just Manish. I don't use any title as such, so it's just Manish. That's number one. And number two, as Jaya very rightly pointed out, I'm not a scholar, but I'm a researcher like you. And I keep writing, researching, trying to fiddle with the new methodologies. And I think it's a great moment for me also, because as I said, it's always a pleasure for me to interact with research scholars like you. So I think thank you, Vikas ji, for giving me this platform. And The topic today is on how to write a research proposal, what should are the key components which go into the making and shaping of a research proposal. A couple of other issues which I think as a researcher should strike your mind is why is it important to write a research proposal? I think generally when a student joins a university or a PhD program, say अब तो MPhil है नहीं तो we can only talk of PhD program, or even some universities have this option of writing a dissertation at a master's level, and they insist on writing a research proposal. Now the question is, why is this research proposal important? I think this is something which you need to understand in the first place, right? Somebody pointed out initially that people apply for research projects in funding agencies, right, for which there is a requirement for research. But I think, please understand, beyond writing for research projects, if you go to any of the foreign universities, and if you are a candidate or rather an applicant for a PhD program, it is only and only on the basis of your research proposal that you get admissions. So it's very important. And therefore, it becomes equally important to write a good research proposal. Okay. A good research proposal, indeed, the whole idea of writing a research proposal is that you are trying to convince the committee that, see, this is a gray area, this is an important area, this is a relevant area on which please let me do research, right? And therefore, a research proposal has to be persuasive enough, right? So that you get either a grant, if it's a project proposal, or an admission for a PhD or a MPhil or a master's program. So it's very important. Secondly, it's also important to understand that when you are writing a research proposal, you may be having a lot of ideas, thoughts. Every researcher has. But when you are writing a good proposal, you are crystal clear in your wisdom and knowledge as to what the area of research is, what is the research problem, right? How you are trying to approach it, right? Which are the methods which you are possibly wanting to employ and that's how step by step you are moving towards a research finding, which is your conclusion, right? So that's the second. It gives you a sort of a roadmap as to how you proceed on your research project. So that's the second most important. The third most important, and I'll come to the idea of research subsequently, is there is a timeline. Please understand. We don't understand the value of time, right? But most universities have either 3 years or maximum 4 years to complete your PhD. Now there is going to be no excuse कि सर डेटा नहीं था, आज बीमार, until there is something very exceptional कि COVID आ गया, right? Otherwise, these are no escapes. You need to finish your research within the given time and given the space and the limitations. Please understand. This is very important as a researcher. You should understand this. And why I say this? This actually begins with the whole idea as to how do we define research. What is research all about? When I'm doing research, right, I'm not writing a novel. I can, rather. But I'm not writing a novel. Please understand. Research is primarily a social activity. Please understand. It cannot be delinked from the society at large. Right?
Please repeat again, sir.
Research is a social activity. Right? And therefore, you have to have a very careful, please, I'm using the words very carefully. Research, therefore, has to be very careful, systematic, and patient investigation of some or the other form of knowledge, right? Which has to be undertaken to establish facts or principles, right? If we have to put the other way around, we can also say it is a very structured inquiry. Research is a very structured inquiry that utilizes a acceptable scientific methodology. But why do we use this methodology? To collect, please understand, to collect, to analyze, to interpret information, and to solve problems or answer questions. But answer what? What type of questions? Answer questions which create a new knowledge that is generally applicable or rather beneficial to the society at large, right? So from where I started, research predominantly is a social activity. If there is a water crisis in the state of Gujarat, say for example, right, then as a researcher, you need to put your mind together as to how we can resolve this water issue, right? You may be using scientific tools, possibly a scientist may be looking from a point of view as to how to bring in the seawater, do away with the salinity of the water, make it more drinking. But from a social scientist point of view, possibly you can also think of how to better utilize the water which you have, right? Possibly if there are any behavioral changes which can be suggested in our behavior pattern so that we can we don't waste water, right? So there are ways and means to think about this whole issue of water scarcity. But no research can be devoid of society at large. And therefore, these are the problems which, as a researcher, we need to address. Right? Say, for example, another example, climate change. Right? Now, why is climate change important in India's context? Obviously, it matters everyone because climate change is something which is a global problem. Right? It has to do with the global commons. But my challenge is different. What is my challenge? My challenge also is energy security. So I should not be using coal, which actually pollutes the environment. I should be optimizing the use of petroleum or diesel, which may possibly pollute. So see how climate change now gets closely linked with the issue of energy security, and not just energy security, to clean energy resources. Now, possibly a technologist can think from that point of view. As a behavioral scientist, you may think at it from that point of view. As a scholar of international relations, I may be looking from the geopolitics perspective as to what is the geopolitics of energy, right? If there are two countries which are actually quarreling amongst themselves, if there is a conflict, say for example, Russia-Ukraine, right? Now, how can I maximize my interest out of this Russia-Ukraine conflict? And this is what, keeping in mind predominantly your national security interest, and in this particular case, energy security, and therefore India went ahead to buy cheap oil from Russia, right? To an extent, we have been able to address the problem of foreign reserves to an extent. So I think please understand the point, the basic root point which I'm trying to necessarily address is this. Your research questions have to flow from the society and the societal problems at large. Right? I hope I'm clear, right? If there are any questions, let's make it interactive. Feel free to ask. If you have, any one of you have any doubts, feel free. Just switch on your cameras, ask before I proceed.
Okay, sir. Clear.
Right, yeah. Now, what are the types of research? I'll not devote too much time just to understand. There are scientific academic research, and there is a common sense research as well, right? What I mean when I say the common sense research is more or less carried out by people in their daily lives, right? If we want to distinguish between these two types of research, right, nearly all people in the course of their daily lives may systematically observe, classify, interpret data, right? We do it on a day-to-day basis, which is also a form of research, right? A potential purchaser, say, just for the sake of example, a potential purchaser of a particular model of car may systematically investigate about the performance of the car before finally taking a decision whether to purchase it, right? So this also is a form of research, which I say daily research. But this group may be more interested in what we say the scientific and the academic research, right? So this is just a broad classification. I thought I'll just, but please understand the essential feature of academic research, since we are debating academic research, is what? As far as possible, it has to be rigorous, controlled and rigorous. That's number one. Number two, what is very important is it should be valid, and not just valid. It should be valid and verifiable, right? So that's the second. It has to be empirical. It can be also critical. Reliability I've brought out. It has to be systematic. It has to be arguable, and obviously it could be challengeable, right? Again, when I use the term challengeable, using a particular set of data and practices, somebody can. So these are some ideas which I thought, and I'll not expand on that because of the paucity of time. But in terms of one thing which I want to say, in terms of rigorousness of academic research, the point which I brought out, right? The research is required to ensure all the procedures followed to address problems or to find answers, right, which are relevant, appropriate, and justified. So that should be the rigor which goes into when we say we are doing a scientific, academically scientific research. All right. I hope I'm clear until this point. Now, the next issue, which I would be coming directly, is your research topic. And I think this should interest all of you. Now, how should your research topic be? And as I said, a research proposal is prepared on selected topics, but this topic will emanate from an area of interest, right? I'm not interested in something, right, but which may make me sit for 8 to 10 hours daily to conduct research, right? I think I'll be a horribly bad researcher. So please understand, the first principle is you have to have interest in that particular topic. An area of interest could, for instance, be real, anything like, but should be of interest. So this is the first and the foremost thing which you have to understand when we go ahead in terms of selection of your research topic, right? Now, when it comes to undergraduate and master's presentation, I mean, there is a tendency that students actually fashion their topics based on the research interest of a particular lecturers, right? Given the fact that who is doing what. Indeed, there is a list of topics from the lecturers based on their research interests, which are available to students also, so that they can pick and choose, right? This is again, and most universities are doing it. When you are applying to any university, first of all, you visit the website wherein the area of specialization of a particular expert is given, professor or assistant professor, right? So you can actually, so that's another way of selection of your topic. Now, that makes the supervision very, very easy. Related issue, which I think again is very important, is what should be the research background, right? Now, there are various terms which are being used for what you say the research background. Right? The broad discussion, the purpose, the introduction, right? This is what you give as a background when you are writing a research proposal, right? Research is conducted to address, as I said, address an existing problem, or rather questions, right? Which has not been addressed before. And therefore, irrespective of the terminology that is used to describe, right, your research problem or research question requires a kind of a mini literature review, right? Why is this important? Because you have been asked to work on a topic on which there is not sufficient work which is already done, or if there is work which has been done, there are gaps in the research, right? There may be areas which are virgin areas, right? तो वहाँ तो कोई issue ही नहीं है, absolutely no issues. But if there is an area of research, right, on which there has been research already done, then you know too as to what has been done and what is new that you are proposing to do. And this requires some amount of literature review, right? So that's the another section which actually consumes most of the space of your research proposal, I presume. Right. Now, what is literature review then? And what is an appropriate literature review? Right. Now, in writing a research proposal or a dissertation, as I said, the elements of research literature review can be found in any section or chapter once references are cited. Right. So as I said, research background, literature review, everything goes into. But purely coming on the research literature review, it serves various purposes. And what are these purposes? First, it provides a sort of a theoretical background of the research which has been done. By the way, let me caution you. When I'm using the word literature review. I'm not using literature survey. Generally, what happens is, in most of the research proposals, generally people try to compile this book talks about this article talks about this. That is just a survey. I'm talking about literature review, and this review is important. If you have to innovate something, come up with a new idea, new finding, right? Because see, in the end, when we are doing research, we also need to undo the existing knowledge which exists. Then only we can create something new now. And it is in the process of undoing, or rather building upon something which is available, that this research review is very, very important. Yes, I think there is a question, please.
Participant, anyone want to ask something? Otherwise, we will be take the question in the end of the session. Navaram Bhimalo Kumar. Sir, you want to ask something? Sir, he will be asked the end of the session.
Okay. I think something may have gone wrong here. All right. So the idea of literature review serves various purposes. Please understand this. And the first purpose is it provides a theoretical background for the research. That's number one. Number two, it broadens the researcher's knowledge base, and it also brings in more clarity and focus to the research problem, right? Because then you are able to fine-tune your research questions, your research problems. You say that this is something which I want to do, which has not been previously done. Or even if it's done, it has been done differently, and this, using this possibly a technique or method, you can come up with some new findings, right? So it broadens a researcher's knowledge base and brings clarity and focus to your research problem. Then the third important point is it helps to establish the nexus between, please understand, nexus between what is proposed to be, what is proposed to be researched, right, and what has already been studied. So now you know the gap. Where is the gap, right? Then the fourth important point is it improves the research methodology. Now that we know where the research gap is, I know how to go about it, how to answer this, how to improve your research methodology, which is a combination of possibly methods, right? Then the fifth most important point is it enables the researcher to show how his findings can contribute to the existing body of knowledge, and therefore how your research helps to contextualize your findings, right? So this is very, very important. Now, so this research literature review is very, very rigorous. Very often, generally people try to do a sort of a mini literature review. I generally don't recommend, right? But I always keep saying that you have to have a very, very good knowledge of what is the literature which is available and what is new that you are wanting to propose. Now, there are a couple of important points which we need when we understand, when I use the term existing knowledge base, which flows out of your research. What are the situations? The first situation is there is no research has been conducted in relation to the topic under consideration. right? So that's the first. The second is there is a situation where research has been conducted, no doubt, but to a certain extent or from a particular perspective, right? So these are the two conditions. Now, when we are doing a literature review, please understand, I mean, there is one, the simplest is there is no research which has been done. This is the easiest situation. And then the second is a situation where research has been conducted, but to a certain extent or from a particular perspective. Both are important. Therefore, what happens? It is this situation that normally applies, and this comes actually in social sciences more, right? And under this broad form of research gap, there are different sub-research gaps which can be encountered in, right? And what are these research gaps? I'll come one by one. The first is the historical, right? The research gap can be historical, where research has been conducted on a topic long time ago, right? And now there is no other research which has been conducted on that topic since then. So now you want some sort of updation, right? So the same topic could be researched today, as it's possible that with time, the conditions that existed at the time of original investigation into the topic might have changed. So now this gives you an opportunity to conduct research, which possibly can be very historical as well. The second situation comes where a topic has been researched from a perspective of a particular discipline, right? For example, I'll give you an example. A topic could have been investigated by a planner, but has never been considered by an economist, right? And therefore, it can be investigated from an economist, purely from the perspective of economics, right? It's like this. Let me put it more simply. There is an idea to have a metro line in your city, right? You also know you have identified the challenges, but there has to be a busting which has to be done. And once you have done the busting of it, possibly you may try to either construct it or to defer it, depending on how much you have in your kitty. So it's something, drawing an analogy from here, right? There is a topic which has been researched from a perspective of a particular discipline. But I think, as I said, from a scientific, from an economist's perspective, it can be researched. The third important is where a topic has been researched in relation to a particular geographical location. Somebody studied climate change in Africa, but now you want to see as to what are the effects of climate change in Delhi, or rather the pollution's level, possibly. So I think that also is in political science, you generally see Panchayati Raj in the city of Darjeeling, Panchayati Raj institutions in the city of Prayag, right? So the topic has been researched in relation to a particular geographical location. Then, what are the other areas? Compare the issue, right? Why has Gujarat done better than the state of Uttar Pradesh when it comes to all its economic indicators? Why is public infrastructure better in Maharashtra than Gujarat? You're trying to compare, na? So that's another reason. Then there are topics which have two or more dimensions, but research has only been conducted in relation to one or the other, and this actually gives you a reason to do research. So now you understand what is the idea of literature review. All these actually only after you have done a rigorous literature review that you are able to identify the gaps, and this will actually further help you fine tune your research questions, right? Which is very important when it comes to your, and once you have been able to do it, you come back again and ask, what is your research aim and objective? Why are you doing this? Right. And generally what happens is a research aim is basically a purpose statement which defines the trajectory or route or rather destination of research. Why are we doing it? There has to be some reason. No? So when we are clear in our objectives, again, it helps you fine tune your research questions, right? Research objectives could be simply stated in bullet points. Generally, you see in any research proposal, you say to examine, to evaluate. These are the keywords which generally scholars write, right? To investigate, to examine, to evaluate, to assess, to determine, to develop, right? To measure, to explore. So these are actually the verbs which you generally use to define your research objectives, right? All this is very important because it helps you fine tune your hypothesis or your research questions. And now you need to see if your research objectives and your hypothesis, right, create an impression that your research objectives and hypothesis are stated in your research proposal or not. What is a hypothesis? It is defined as a provisional supposition that a variable has a causal effect on another variable, right? I generally don't prefer to use hypothesis in international relations. I generally ask my students to go for research questions rather, because that gives more space, right? Rather than using a hypothesis, because as I said, there are two set of variables which have to be tested here when it comes to. So that limits the scope. Research questions are rather more broad, right? Hypothesis, again, as I said, has to be a testable proposition. You test a hypothesis, right? It is a testable proposition about the relationship that exists between two or more variables, right? Or other concepts or two events, right? Just to give you an example, like to examine the impact of price on demand for goods and services. Now, see how there are a set of variables here. Price on the one hand, and goods and the demand for goods and services, the other variable. So that's how you try to bring in.
I will call to. Okay.
Then what comes next? Then how do we answer these questions? And while doing so, you need to chapterize, right? So now what you have done, A critical analytical review of the main literature is done, right? You are fully aware of what your research methodology is. You are also aware of your data and presentation analysis discussion. You also have a summary of research finding, conclusion, limitation, and recommendation. These are the things which generally should be part of your proposal, right? As I said, your research problem are to be identified based on the research gaps, which is established in your literature. Second, your research problem or questions there is an aim which is being research aim which is, and on the basis of that it's actually formulated, right? One thing now we will come to, and that is the research methodology, right? I'll not go too much into detail of how the research methodology should be, how should we be, but see, your research questions rather decide your methodology. And broadly speaking, when it comes to social sciences, there are three research methodologies that can be used to conduct academic research. What are these three? First, the quantitative research methodology, right? Which is also known as traditional, positivist, or empiricist research approach. The second is the qualitative research methodology, right? Which is rather defined as constructivist. It can be naturalistic, interpretative, post-positivist, or post-modern perspective approach, whatever you call. And the third is what you say the mixed methodologies, and the other terminologies for it are multi-methodology, or what you can say the pragmatic approach. This is primarily an amalgam of quantitative and qualitative research methodologies in one single study, right? There are also scholars who consider research methodology as research design, right? But there are also scholars who treat research design as a subset of research methodology, but I leave it to you then. Right? So when it comes to quantitative, what are the strategies of inquiry? Let me very quickly sift through. The first is what you can say surveys, right? Quantitative surveys. What is a survey? A system of gathering information, including cross-sectional longitudinal studies, mostly which uses questionnaires, interviews, observation for data collection, and so on and so forth. The second is experiments, right? The basic intent of an experiment is to test the impact of the treatment or an intervention or an outcome. There is a dependent variable, there is an independent variable, right? So the third, again, depending on the type of research, is ethnography, right? Where researcher studies an intact cultural group in a natural setting, right? Ethnography में यही होता है. The research process is flexible. It typically evolves contextually in response to lived realities, right? But this is generally encountered in a field setting. Please understand this. Then you have the grounded theory. You have the case study method, in-depth systematic investigation of a phenomena. That is what you do, case study. Then phenomenology, other one. What is phenomenology? It is a study of everyday life, right? Human experiences, lived experiences, right? Then there is a narrative research. It is a form of inquiry in which researcher studies the lives of individuals and asks them, one or more individuals, to provide stories of their lives. So that is what you call the narrative research. Then there is action research. Action research is also known as participatory action research, community-based study, cooperative inquiry, action science, so on and so forth. And then there are sequential procedures, concurrent procedures, transformative procedures, reflection of strategies of inquiry. So there is a long list. What are the type of data and the research methods? Very quickly, sampling is one. We all know what sampling is all about, right? It's a collection of primary data. A sample population is normally selected from the target population group and surveyed, right? So it's not a complete population. You take a sample out of it. So these are some of the tools, the methods which you use as. Then obviously there are ethical issues which are involved. And what are they? When we are doing research, please understand, I'll talk of, I'll generally talk of social science generally, and the simplest is what you say, don't plagiarize, right? There is a research ethics which is involved, right? But in non-science subjects, the ethical issues are more rigorous. When you are conducting research, which is a laboratory-based research, a field-based research, there is the need to normally ensure people are not harmed physically or emotionally, right? And that is what are the ethical considerations about research, right? Then obviously there are research significance, what are the research programs, so on and so forth. So now let me now try to revisit the ideas which I've tried to discuss with you. What are the essential elements of a good proposal? Right. A good proposal is the one which should have a theoretical framework, which is about relevant theories which underpin a particular study, right? Though it's difficult, right? Because the underpinning theory or theorizing is not easy, it is difficult, right? But while doing so, you need to do a proper research, literature review, you need to do research survey, you need to have research methodologies, new methods, a good hypothesis, and obviously any research proposal should also have a reference or a bibliography attached to it, right? So when we look at a structure of a proposal, it's something like this. You introduce a problem in the first place. What you say, the statement of the problem, right? Then you do a literature review. Then comes your research questions from the gaps. You have once you have done your research survey, you know where the gaps are. Then there are research questions. Then there is a methodology which comes, right? There is a rationale, objective of research. Then there is a section on chapterization, and then there is a good research bibliography. This is how your research proposal looks like ideally. And as I discussed, These are some of the core components which go into the making and shaping of a good research proposal writing. I'll stop here. I'll be happy.
Questions?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any participants have any
Then
question?
नहीं, मैं इसमें थोड़ा सा इनको बता दूं थोड़ा,
Yes, sir.
क्योंकि बात का जो उनका था उस समय ऑनलाइन, लेकिन मोटे तौर पे जो हमने बताया है, हम इस पर्टिकुलर विषय के ऊपर नहीं कमेंट कर सकते,
जी सर।
लेकिन लिटरेचर सर्वे का जो फर्स्ट प्रिंसिपल होता है वो ये होता है कि आप जो उस विषय से संबंधित है उसको कम से कम एग्जॉस्ट कर लें, तभी आप उसमें जो है रिसर्च के गैप्स को निकाल। इसका आइडिया ये है कि किस तरह से हम रिसर्च गैप्स को पता करते हैं, राइट, और तभी हम एक कुछ नया प्रस्ताव दे पाते हैं कि साहब देखिए ये विषय है, इसको इस तरह से भी देखना चाहिए, राइट। अब कितना समय कितनी किताब वो तो एक बड़ा इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक क्वेश्चन हो गया, ठीक है।
सो पवित्रा यादव,
थैंक यू गुरुदेव।
मोहम्मद फहीम करीमी, हाँ यस मोहम्मद करीम जी, यू कैन आस्क डायरेक्टली, नो प्रॉब्लम। Pavitra Yadav has raised the hand. Yes, Pavitra Yadav, you want to ask?
Yes,
Yes, yes, sir.
Good evening, sir. First of all, thank you, sir, for your presentation. And it's very good and helpful for me. My question is, how we build our theoretical framework and conceptual framework while preparing our research proposal? And another question is every research should have a theoretical framework?
नहीं, जरूरी नहीं है कि हर रिसर्च का एक थियोरेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क हो, राइट। तो ये चीज आप समझ लीजिए, डिपेंडिंग ऑन काफी थीसिस होती हैं जो केस स्टडीज होती हैं, जरूरी नहीं सब में जो एक आप थियोरेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क, बट हाँ जहाँ पे जरूरत है थियोरेटिकल फ्रेमवर्क की वहाँ आप उसे यूज कर सकती हैं, बट नॉट नेसेसरी, राइट। सो दैट्स द फर्स्ट थिंग। व्हाट वाज योर सेकंड क्वेश्चन?
Sir, how theoretical framework and conceptual framework is different from each other, or how we build during
बड़ा आपने उस तरह का क्वेश्चन कर लिया, क्योंकि फिर हमें जाना पड़ेगा थियरी और कॉन्सेप्ट क्या है ये करने के लिए, लेकिन हम मोटे तौर पे बताएं। थियरी का मतलब ये होता है, सोशल साइंस में बहुत हम सिंपल तरीके से बता रहे हैं, सोशल साइंस में जो थियरी का मतलब होता है वो ये कि दैट थियरी इज एबल टू एक्सप्लेन ए पर्टिकुलर फेनोमेना। जैसे रशिया यूक्रेन के बीच में युद्ध हो रहा है, राइट, तो इसको हम किस तरह से देखना पसंद करेंगे? क्या कॉन्फ्लिक्ट की थियरीज या इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस की थियरी उसमें अप्लाई होंगी? रियलिस्ट मोड है जो थियरीज का, क्या वो, तो उसके उस थियरी के जो की कंपोनेंट्स होते हैं उसको यूज करके हम एक्सप्लेन कर सकते हैं इस चीज को कि क्या कि रशिया और यूक्रेन के बीच युद्ध की स्थिति क्यों बनी और क्यों हो रहा है, राइट। सो थियरीज हैव प्राइमरली ए एक्सप्लेनेटरी फंक्शन। अंडरस्टूड?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So next is Vasudha Dwivedi ji.
Another question on how we define the conceptual framework.
कॉन्सेप्ट इज समथिंग वेरी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम थियरी, राइट। अब जैसे सॉवरेनिटी का कॉन्सेप्ट है, आपने पढ़ा होगा ना, या कॉन्सेप्ट ऑफ, हाँ, राइट्स का कॉन्सेप्ट है, तो वो एक अलग विषय होता है। थियरी का जैसा हमने बताया, थियरी प्राइमरली एक्सप्लेनेटरी फंक्शंस के लिए यूज होती है। कोई एक सोशल फेनोमेना है, उसको एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए जो हम यूज करते हैं, जो थियोरेटिकल पैराडाइम, वो उसका मेन फंक्शन होता है। कॉन्सेप्ट्स आर समथिंग डिफरेंट, राइट।
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Vasudha ji.
Yeah, thank you, Vikash sir. Firstly, good evening, sir. Thank you for the wonderful lecture. It was indeed helpful. So my question is regarding the literature review again. As we know that we say that literature review is a review of the past literature or the work that is done. So my problem and my personal conundrum is that I don't understand that how much in the past should we go? Because sometimes when I look into the references, certain works are even from 1820, then way more behind. So if I go that back, then my literature review won't be a mini review. So how much back should we go when we
नहीं
go for
मतलब
literature?
उसको तब उसका तरीका ये होता है, आप क्लासिफाई करना शुरू कर दीजिए. जैसे हम आपको एग्जाम्पल एक देके बता रहे हैं. से एज्यूमिंग यू आर वर्किंग ऑन इंडो पैसिफिक, राइट. अब 3 तरह के इसमें लिटरेचर आएंगे. एक तो कॉन्सेप्चुअल लिटरेचर आएगा. कॉन्सेप्चुअल लिटरेचर जो डील करता हाउ वी डिफाइन रीजन्स. सो दैट्स वन एस्पेक्ट ऑफ इट, राइट. रीजन्स कैसे होते हैं, जो ज्योग्राफिकली हम रीजन्स को डिफाइन करते हैं वो किस तरह से होंगे. रीजन्स क्या सैक्रोसेंट है, क्या रीजन्स में चेंज होते हैं, राइट. या अगर थोड़ा सा हमें ये देखना पड़ेगा कि अब एक रीजन हमने डिफाइन किया एशिया पैसिफिक, तो एशिया पैसिफिक रीजन से आज हम इंडो पैसिफिक की क्यों बात कर रहे हैं. तो एक सेट ऑफ लिटरेचर होगा जो आपको एक कॉन्सेप्चुअल अंडरस्टैंडिंग देगा व्हाट रीजन इज ऑल अबाउट एंड हाउ शुड वी बी डिफाइनिंग इंडो पैसिफिक रीजन इन पर्टिकुलर. सो दैट्स नंबर 1. नंबर 2, जो सेट ऑफ लिटरेचर इसमें आएगा उसमें हु आर द की एक्टर्स, राइट. व्हाई आर वी टॉकिंग अबाउट इंडो पैसिफिक. Is US important? Is China important? Is Japan important? Is Australia important? Why are we pushing for? And when we are doing that, then the second question is, what are the key determinants? So obviously some literature on conflict with China will come, right? So that's the second set of literature. The third set of literature will actually flow directly from your research questions, right? तो उसमें आपने जो भी क्वेश्चन पूछा है कि अगर मान लीजिए उसमें नेचुरल रिसोर्सेस क्या है, ब्लू इकोनॉमी इंडो पैसिफिक है, मिलिट्री ये है, तो उसको एक्सप्लेन करने के लिए जो थियरीज वगैरह आएंगी तो ये तो एज आई सेड कि उसमें आप 1500 इस तरह का इशू नहीं, आप क्लासिफाई कर दीजिए. तो जब आप थियोरेटिकली क्लासिफाई करेंगी तो उसमें एक सेट ऑफ रियलिस्ट लिटरेचर आ जाएगा, एक सेट ऑफ लिटरेचर जो कॉन्स्ट्रक्टिविज्म को एक्सप्लेन करेगा. सो अब हमने डिलिनेट कर लिया 2 प्रिडोमिनेंट थियरीज, राइट. एक न्यू रियलिस्ट थियरी को हमने कर लिया, एक कॉन्स्ट्रक्टिविज्म में. तो उस लिटरेचर को हमने उस पैराडाइम में एड्रेस कर दिया. अब आप फिर देखना शुरू करिए कि उसमें गैप्स कहाँ पे हैं, ठीक है. सो एज ए रिसर्चर आपको ये डिसाइड करना पड़ेगा कि कहाँ तक हम उसे खींच के ले जाएं. बट इंडो पैसिफिक के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हमने जैसे आपको बताया कि ये एक तरीका हो सकता है.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Okay. Next question is political science with me has rain. I think. हाँ, मधुलिका शुक्ला जी.
सादर प्रणाम सर. सर मेरा प्रश्न विषय में जो हम उल्लेखित समय सीमा लेते हैं अध्ययन में, अंतरराष्ट्रीय रिलेशन में अगर हम सन 2020 से लेकर 2025 तक का अध्ययन करना चाहते हैं और हमारा प्रस्तुतिकरण तैयार है, 2.5 साल के लगभग रिसर्च को हो गया है जी, तो 2025 के किस एक प्रिडिक्शन देना होगा हमें उसका, तो कितने पूर्व तक हम उसको प्रस्तुत कर सकते हैं.
नहीं, इसमें देखिए 2 चीजें हमने नहीं जो क्लियर नहीं हो पा रही. पहले तो जब हम टाइमलाइन डिफाइन करते हैं किसी भी एक उसमें, तो किसी आधार पे करते हैं ना.
जी सर.
राइट. वो आधार क्या है
सर? आधार उसमें वैश्विक परिदृश्य,
जैसे अगर आप अपना विषय, I think may I request to please switch off your mics, थोड़ा डिस्टर्बेंस आ रहा है. या सो अब जैसे आपके केस में आपका स्पेसिफिक केस लेते हैं, राइट
जी.
आपका विषय क्या है ये बताइए.
सर मेरा है बदलते वैश्विक परिदृश्य में रूस, अमेरिका और चाइना के संदर्भ में भारत की भूमिका 2020 से 25 तक का एरा दिया है.
अब आप हमें ये बताइए कि 2020 आपने क्यों लिया है, कोई तो आधार होगा.
सर 2020 के बाद से, कोविड ईयर के बाद से काफी चेंजेस हुए हैं परिदृश्य में, तो उसको आधार मानकर लिया.
हाँ, तो तब आपको ये कहना पड़ेगा कि आप पोस्ट कोविड फेज में आपका जो पीरियडाइजेशन है इसको एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ेगा
जी,
कि पोस्ट कोविड फेज में आप जो है क्या कुछ इस तरह का चेंज हुआ है, पहली चीज. फिर आपको ये भी एक्सप्लेन करना पड़ेगा कि आपने पोस्ट कोविड क्यों लिया? क्या डी ग्लोबलाइजेशन की शुरुआत हुई है, या क्या उस पोस्ट कोविड में आपको इस तरह के एलिमेंट्स दिख रहे हैं जिसमें रूस और चीन के बीच में कुछ मतभेद शुरू हो गए हैं? ये सारी चीजें हमें एक्सप्लेन करनी पड़ेंगी, राइट? अब इसमें हम सिनेरियो, आपके शोध में हम सिनेरियो बिल्डिंग नहीं कर रहे हैं, इसलिए आपका जो कंटेक्स्ट होगा आपको कहीं ना कहीं खत्म करना पड़ेगा। जब आप थीसिस सबमिट करें 25 में या जब भी, वहां पे आपका का जो पीरियड है उसका अंत हो जाएगा। हम प्रोजेक्शंस नहीं कर रहे हैं इस केस में, राइट? आप सिर्फ एक टाइमलाइन ले रही, एक रेफरेंस पॉइंट ले रही और उसके बाद सिर्फ ये एग्जामिन कर रही कि क्या परिदृश्य है एट ए ग्लोबल लेवल बिटवीन रशिया, चाइना, US and so on, and how does India focus in between, right?
जी, धन्यवाद सर, थैंक यू वेरी मच।
थैंक यू। पॉलिटिकल साइंस विद मी किसी ने हैंड रेज किया है, यदि आप पूछना चाहते हैं तो पूछ सकते हैं। यू कैन लिसन मी। ओके, सो कृति केसारी, छपी थी किसी में सोच कर कृति से केसारी। ओके, so if any participants have any questions and doubts, so you can ask directly, otherwise we will be in the session. Anyone have any questions? So now
No sir.
हाँ जी 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 जी, कोई पूछ रहा था अभी? ओके, नो प्रॉब्लम। मुजाहदा इज हेयर। मुजाहदा इज हेयर।
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Okay, sir. Mujahada has joined from the where? From Tajikistan, Mujahada?
Yeah, I'm from Tajikistan.
Yeah. Sir, he's from Tajikistan. You want to ask
Thank you.
something to sir, Mujahada?
I just want to thank for your fruitful session. It was really nice. We got many information regarding research. Uh, s- Thank you so much.
Thank you, pleasure.
Happy to join this group. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you so much, sir. और एक बार मैं फिर से आई वांट टू इनवाइट टू प्रोफेसर एन सुरजीत कुमार सर फॉर द वोट ऑफ थैंक्स। सुरजीत सर इज हेयर?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
I thought someone will give vote of thanks. Anyway.
Okay, sir. No problem, sir. So.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Yeah. Thank you, sir, for your valuable and very enlightening speech. That was very like a thoughtful idea you have given about research and other activities, related activities. And I hope many of the scholars, at least somehow they must have received ideas about how to write a good research proposal and how to do a good research in the coming years. And I hope in the next time also we'll have a good session like this, sir. And once again, I thank all the participants, all the faculties, and all the research scholars for being part of the today's workshop. Thank you all.
Thank you. It was pleasure for me. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
थैंक यू सर। प्रणाम सर, मनीष सर।
प्रणाम।
एक्चुअली सर मैं दूसरी बार
मनीष
सुना है
सर,
आपको।
Please send the feedback link.
हाँ, मैं दूसरी बार है सुना हूँ आपको। एक बार मैंने और सुना था जब मैं पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन में था, तो उस समय मुझे सुनने का अवसर मिला था, कोविड चल रहा था। तो
जी।
ये बहुत बड़ी बात है कि सर आप यहाँ पर आए और हम लोगों ने दोबारा सुना आपको। और एक्चुअली सर जो आपके वर्ड्स का चयन होता है, वर्ड्स का जो सिलेक्शन होता है, सेंटेंसेस का स्ट्रक्चर होता है वो सर बहुत ही मतलब एक सेंटेंस से और एक वर्ड से, जैसे हिंदी में या वो संस्कृत की सूक्तियाँ नहीं होती, वैसे ही पॉलिटिकल साइंस और इंटरनेशनल रिलेशन में आप सूक्तियों के जैसे सेंटेंसेस निकालते हैं, तो उससे बहुत सारा हम लोग एक्सप्लेनेशन कर सकते हैं। तो थैंक यू सर।
Thank you.
ठीक सर, प्रणाम सर।
Thank you.
And participant,
प्रणाम सर।
I'm sending the feedback link. Actually, irsa.ac.in121@gmail.com. Participants, I have sent the email address of our organization, so you can send your feedback name in the our to the our mail. Then I will be send the feedback form and certificate to your mail. Okay, और यदि किसी को भी डाउट हो तो मैं अपना नंबर भेजे दे रहा हूं, तो आप लोग उस पे भी कर सकते हैं मैसेज।
ओके
है ना, तो हम सर्टिफिकेट सभी
सर,
को
ये मेल
देंगे।
गलत है आपका, सब मेल गलत है।
irsa.ac.in121@gmail.com गलत है मेल, मनोज जी?
अब
हाँ,
सही है, अब सही है।
अरे सही होगा भाई, गलत क्यों भेजेंगे आप लोगों को? किसी को कोई डाउट हो? और दूसरा, आई वांट टू रिक्वेस्ट टू पार्टिसिपेंट्स, if anyone want to join the Indian Research Scholars Association as a volunteer and as the executive committee member, as the coordinator of the program, convener and co-convener, so you can send me message in the WhatsApp। तो हम लोग पूरा स्कॉलर्स ही मिल करके इसको चला रहे हैं, और इस पे एक्टिविटीज हम लोग स्कॉलर ही करते हैं, जितने भी स्कॉलर हैं। तो किसी को किसी भी यूनिवर्सिटी का स्कॉलर या टीचर जो भी हैं, पूरे ऑल ओवर इंडिया से कोई भी हो, तो इस पे जुड़ सकते हैं, और इस पे हम लोग प्रोग्राम कराते रहते हैं ऐसे ही। ठीक है, तो आई थिंक जो पहले की स्कॉलर है उनको पता है। तो आप लोगों में से कोई भी यदि ज्वाइन करना चाहता है एज ए प्रोग्राम कोऑर्डिनेटर, कन्वेनर, को कन्वेनर, किसी भी रूप में, तो ईर्षा उन सभी रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स का वेलकम करता है। सो थैंक यू सो मच। We will provide to the certificate very soon. Thank you.
थैंक यू विकास जी।
Thank you. Okay, okay, okay.